finishing up in Ottawa, Parm Baines, Wade Chong, Patrick Weiler, and Zoe Royer. And we also have Suk Dhaliwal and Randeep Sarai here. I'll let the Premier introduce his team from the provincial side. And first and foremost, I want to acknowledge our hosts here on the site, West Group and the whole team who are building the River District, an extraordinary neighborhood here in Vancouver. Vancouver's fastest growing neighborhood, I think, at this point, and fantastic housing with a mix of affordability, which is great work by many people over many years and coming to fruition here. As former mayor of Vancouver, I saw the difference that housing and infrastructure investments can make for our communities. But for most of my years, we were missing federal and provincial leadership that was needed to get everyone around the table to build that essential infrastructure, that essential housing and transit. Je suis très heureux que maintenant, sous le leadership du Premier ministre Mark Carney, nous pouvons avancer avec notre plan pour bâtir un Canada fort. Now we have federal and provincial leadership alongside the community and a clear plan with a shared sense of purpose. We are delivering results by working together across all levels of government. And there is a deep alignment here with the BC government, and we've already forged a solid partnership on affordable housing. Better transit, community infrastructure, and local services don't just improve the quality of life, though. They help spur that housing, the development of housing, alongside job opportunities and stronger communities. And that's exactly what today's announcement is about, because building more homes, we need to build the infrastructure that makes that possible. And this is part of that broader effort. So the Build Canada Homes BC Housing Partnership is supporting home building and affordability across the province. Alors que nos communautés grandissent, on choisit d'être là, on bâtit des partenariats et un Canada fort. Through the Building Communities Strong Fund and Strong Transit Fund, we are going to make investments with BC in the infrastructure that supports our growing communities. And with that, it is my great honor to welcome Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you all. Wow. So good to be here. Good afternoon. I think we just made it to afternoon. Good afternoon. Premier Eby, what a pleasure. I'm going to say more about Premier Eby in a moment. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Well, it depends. In Ottawa, great legislation that's moved forward, including making our communities safer and building the country, protecting nature, building the environment. It is always, this is the safest sentence to say, always great to be back in Vancouver, and especially great to be here on game day. Canada Guitar a few hours from now in BC Place. Also, somewhere around this great city is our Secretary of State, Adam Van Couverden, who is Canada's FIFA Sherpa. That is great work if you can get it. And somehow, I guess you get a gold medal, good things happen to you. Adam is our FIFA Sherpa. I said I was going to say a few more words about Premier Eby, and there's much I can say, but I just want to congratulate the Premier, the province of British Columbia, City of Vancouver, for showcasing the best of Canada and of the beautiful game. I mean, we are welcoming the FIFA World Cup here. It is the pinnacle of sport. More than 350,000 fans will come to Canada, to Vancouver. Yes, that will create thousands of jobs. Yes, it will add hundreds of millions, indeed billions, to the Canadian economy. But by far the most important element will be the experience of the world coming together to celebrate when it needs it the most. And there is no better place to do it than right here, right now. Alors que le monde converge vers Vancouver, il découvrira une province aussi ambitieuse que magnifique. Dans un monde en évolution rapide, nous nous inspirons de l'histoire et du dynamisme de la Colombie-Britannique pour rebâtir. Now, our federal government is now building big. New ports, mines, energy, and trade corridors, literally from coast to coast to coast. And of the 22 projects and strategies we're advancing through the nation-building strategies, I should say, advancing through the Major Projects Office, 1/3 are in British Columbia. That includes transformative projects like the Northwest Critical Conservation Corridor, which will unlock critical mineral development and clean power while creating a conservation area the size of Greece, and all in full partnership with First Nations. Projects that unlock Canadian energy, including LNG Canada Phase 2 in Kitimat, which will double our LNG production, and the Niska Nation-led Silicim project on Pierce Island, one of the lowest emission LNG facilities in the world. And I'm literally just back from the G7 in France, where it was clear that the world wants to partner with Canada, from those critical minerals to artificial intelligence created in the research institutes here and the startups, to agriculture and clean tech. And it welcomes the potential for Canada to deliver significant additional energy at a time when energy security and affordability are the focus of literally billions of people around the world. Au cours de la dernière année, nous avons conclu plus de 20 partenariats économiques et de sécurité, de l'Inde à la Corée en passant par la France, et toutes veulent plus d'énergie et d'innovation de la Colombie-Britannique. So we're building big and connecting global, but most importantly, we're building local and connecting people. We're building new hospitals, transit, and wastewater systems through what Gregor just mentioned, the new $51 billion federal Build Community Strong Fund. We've already launched 37 projects, including the Marpole Community Center here in Vancouver. In September, we launched Build Canada Homes. We launched it as an entity in a few hours, I believe. Just passed. Look at that. Gregor moves faster. Just passed, just received royal assent, so officially Build Canada Homes, the agency, has passed, it's passed the Senate. Well, we've got a new Governor General. She's very focused. I'm sure it'll have a royal assent by the summer, or by the afternoon. The point is, Build Canada Homes, this entity, designed to catalyze an entirely new housing industry that's more affordable, more sustainable, more Canadian. And in just a few months, under Minister Robertson's leadership, we've committed to build more than 11,000 new homes through 14 partnerships across this country, including 700 units here in BC and a lot more to come. There's 4,500 units already under construction or about to break ground in the next 3 months. En mars, nous avons déposé un projet de loi qui permettra de débloquer 1,5 milliard de dollars en fonds fédéraux pour aider les provinces et les territoires à réduire le coût de la construction de logements. Et depuis, nous avons affecté plus de 280 millions de dollars spécifiquement à la Colombie-Britannique. Now, we know, above all in the Lower Mainland, there are challenges. There have been challenges in the housing market. But there are now signs of real progress. Rents are starting to come down. Affordability is beginning to improve. Rents are now at a 20-month low. The rent-to-income ratio has fallen to its lowest level in over 6 years. Vancouver, rent for a one-bedroom apartment down 6% over the last year. Now's the time to reinforce that progress by tackling housing from every angle. Some of the issues, BC, not enough affordable homes are being built, emphasis on affordable. So demand continues to outpace supply. And at the same time, there's too many completed condos sitting empty. In Metro Vancouver alone, around 2,500 finished units are standing vacant with no buyers. With higher interest rates, weaker investment demand, developers are stuck. They don't want to sell at a loss. They can't afford to hold those empty units indefinitely. And the problem is that those empty homes don't just sit idle. They also disincentivize new construction, unsettle lenders and investors, create a housing market that, in effect, feels frozen. Result, too many British Columbians still can't find the homes that they can afford. Nous changeons tout cela avec un plan qui s'attaque directement à ces défis afin de libérer l'offre de logement et d'améliorer l'accessibilité au logement. So today, with the Premier we're pleased to announce that Canada and British Columbia have reached a landmark new agreement to help build more homes, to bring down housing costs, and modernize infrastructure across the province. We'll do this by working together to reduce development charges. We will convert vacant condos into affordable housing, and we will invest in community infrastructure from schools and hospitals to public transit. Now, I mentioned development charges. They're one of the biggest barriers to new homes. These are the fees that are charged to developers that help fund the infrastructure needed to support new housing. That means water mains, roads, parks, community facilities. Ils peuvent retarder des projets avant même que ceux-ci ne démarrent. Et lorsque le logement est mis sur le marché, les coûts cachés sont bien souvent transférés aux acheteurs et aux locataires. So through the Build Community Strong Fund, Canada will invest $1.6 billion in community infrastructure over the next decade. The BC government will match that investment. So that means $3.2 billion to finance the infrastructure communities need to support that housing, all while reducing municipal development charges that often get passed on to home buyers. Result, more people can afford homes and they get great infrastructure alongside it. Under this agreement, development charges on multi-unit housing projects across BC will be reduced by up to 50%, 50%, for the next 3 years. That means lower upfront costs, greater certainty for builders, more affordable homes for you to buy or rent. That could mean for a new unit reducing costs by up to $40,000. Now, there's another thing we can do, and we're working together to do, which is to increase housing supply by making better use of units that already have been built. And to that end, we're announcing today that Canada and BC will have a new partnership on condo conversion. We're going to leverage innovative financing tools from Build Canada Homes to convert thousands of vacant condos into affordable homes. C'est l'une des moyennes les plus rapides et les plus efficaces immobilier inoccupé en logement abordable. Au cours des prochains mois, et commenceront à remettre sur le marché des logements abordables d'ici cet automne. So by the fall, we'll work to offer these condos on the market. Finally, we will increase the housing supply across the province. As we do so with our various programs, we'll also build that essential new community infrastructure. That means new and improved transit systems, hospitals, community centers. We're providing $50 million to support community infrastructure projects, water systems, in coastal communities, and with priority projects in Terrace and Prince Rupert. We are deploying $2.5 billion through the Canada Public Transit Fund to build new transit infrastructure projects, bus routes, modernize transit networks across BC, including support for projects such as the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension. 8 new stations along the Fraser Highway, an expansion that will significantly reduce commute times, allow commuters to spend more time with their families. Okay, so I'll give an example, a trip from Langley Centre to King George Station taking just 22 minutes. Now, this is true across the country, but it's also true here in BC. In many communities, hospitals were built back in the 1970s, and here, because of the growth of British Columbia, that means those hospitals are serving populations twice the size they were designed for originally. Families have to wait too long for the care that they need. So we've agreed to partner with the province to upgrade and expand hospital rooms, emergency rooms, urgent care centers, medical schools, and other critical health facilities. We'll each contribute more than $600 million so that more British Columbians can get faster health care when they need it. And I want to take a minute to speak about one particularly important part of today's announcement. back in February, dark days of February, and they were dark days, the Premier and I, and many of you, but the Premier and I went to Tumbler Ridge in the wake of the horrific shooting at the secondary school. We sat down, we heard directly from the students, their parents, their teachers. We talked to the first responders, the neighbors, friends. And we talked about what could be done to begin to help heal from that trauma, that loss, unspeakable tragedy. And the Premier and I, amongst other things, we promised that we would be there for the community as they rebuild. And to that end, the federal government and the BC government are announcing today that we will each provide $100 million to build an entirely new school and a modernized healthcare center for the Tumbler Ridge community. A new school for bright kids to learn, grow, and dream, and better facilities for the incredible healthcare workers who support those in need. Construction will begin this summer, starting with the removal of the existing school. I want to thank again Premier Eby for his partnership both on such vital local community projects as well as on major nation building projects as we collectively build at a scale and speed not seen in generations. I also want to thank him because we both share, and our governments both share, the conviction that it's not just what we build, but it's how we build. Building sustainably, with a relentless focus on lowering emissions. Building inclusively, in full partnership with First Nations. And building in solidarity with workers. Afin de bâtir un Canada qui n'est pas seulement fort, mais aussi bon. Un Canada qui n'est pas seulement prospère, mais aussi juste et abordable. Un Canada qui ne fonctionne pas pour quelques-uns la plupart du temps, mais pour toutes et tous tout le temps. We're building British Columbia strong and a Canada strong, and we're building for all. Thank you very much for your attention, and it now gives me great pleasure to introduce the Premier of British Columbia, David Eby.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We are so glad to have you here in British Columbia. I'm joined by my colleague, Susie Chant, from the North Shore. She, in her community, is C-SPAN, where they're building the ships right now under a national shipbuilding strategy to protect and defend Canada and reestablish our seafaring capacity in the country. Nikki Sharma, our Attorney General, that worked with your team on delivering meaningful reforms around the criminal law, and super appreciative of your team's efforts to get that all across the line. Jesse Sunner, who is working on a $250 million training fund for young people so that they can get the skilled trades training that they need on the major projects that they're working on delivering for Canadians together. Sunita Deer, who has been working overtime to ensure that people who arrive in Canada, new arrivals, get the skills, get their experience recognized so that they can get to work. Gary Begg, our caucus chair, who helps keep everybody together in a line, former police officer from Surrey, and Amna Shah at the end of the line, who's working on our anti-racism strategy, among other pieces. This is your hardworking BC team here in British Columbia, and of course, we'll have the Housing Minister speak in a moment. Did I miss? George Chow. George Chow. You know, this is George Chow's constituency, I think, and he's hosting us here. This neighborhood that we're in is probably the fastest growing neighborhood in Vancouver. George has welcomed 4,500 new constituents on a former industrial site here. There's going to be 15,000 people here that he makes feel welcome and advocates for as an incredibly effective MLA, and also our liaison with Chinatown and often with the Chinese community broadly in British Columbia as we prepare for a trade mission to China. Prime Minister, what I want to say here, and by these introductions, what I want to tell you is, if you want to diversify trade relationships around the world, and I know you do, you speak to it all the time, eloquently on the global stage, on the national stage. We are passionate about your vision. British Columbia is the place that is delivering that for you. We have the major projects to move the needle on national gross domestic product, creating jobs for Canadians from every corner of the province, creating revenues to pay for the public services that people depend on. If your goal is to build housing, that's what we're all about here in British Columbia. We've been working on this for a while, cracking down on speculators, ensuring that Airbnb is for vacation, not for displacing the workers in the tourism community, and building 5 times more rental housing than the previous government, delivering more than 100,000 homes for British Columbians. And if you want to host an international sports event, Prime Minister, let me tell you, we are proud to be recognized by Sports Illustrated as the #1 host city of the World Cup in North America here in British Columbia. And I got to tell you, the vibes out there are unbelievable. Your timing is impeccable, Prime Minister. My sincere hope is that we're going to be able to take in this game with Qatar, and not just take in this game, potentially a win for Team Canada. If Vancouver can deliver that for you, if British Columbia can deliver that for you, I don't know why you'd go anywhere else in Canada, to be totally honest with you. So this is an important announcement for us. This is, to my mind, this is a housing announcement. This is a commitment of the federal government, $5 billion over 10 years, commitment from the provincial government on matching funding to ensure that we're doing a couple of things. Making sure that people are going to be able to actually buy, actually move into the housing that's being built in British Columbia by reducing the costs of constructing those new homes, including homes like those behind me right now. The second part is recognizing that there is existing housing stock available that's been built that people would love to move into. They would love to make it their first home to buy, but they can't afford it. And that working together at the federal and provincial level with the private sector, we can open those homes up and give people a pathway to affordable home ownership. Building homes is one piece, but in order for a community to be functional, you need the services around it as well. You need the schools, the hospitals, the urgent primary care centers, the transit, and this announcement is about that as well. It reflects new and additional contributions by the federal government to initiatives here in British Columbia around enhancing healthcare, urgent primary care centers, improvements to emergency rooms, operating rooms, critical health infrastructure. It means additional investments, badly needed investments, in transit to reduce traffic on our roads and give people an opportunity to get to where they want to get faster. And if that's a World Cup game, I will reflect on the fact that more than 1 million people took transit, a new record for TransLink, for the first game of the World Cup. And I hesitate to mention it, but it is even more than took transit in the Taylor Swift concert, Eras concert. So we're setting new records here. The demand is huge and the contribution is meaningful from the federal government here. Together, British Columbia, the federal government, working to build a strong and united Canada in this incredibly challenging time for families in British Columbia. Instability in Canada. Today's announcement is an important symbol to me of the shared commitment between the provincial and the federal government to make life better for British Columbians in a time when things are challenging. And it's evidence that governments can work together to improve the quality of life for people. And that is the goal, I know, of every single person that's standing up here for this announcement and our whole caucus within the BC NDP government. So again, colleagues, federal colleagues, it's great to see you. I hope you have great times in the celebrations today, whether you're in a fan zone or on Granville Street or wherever. We're so excited to have you here at this moment. And I want to thank you for your shared partnership and this work that we're doing together to build up beautiful British Columbia and our entire country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier Eby. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your cleanup speaker here, so I will be brief, but so excited to be working in partnership with the federal government, to be here with so many dedicated colleagues across both levels of government on this announcement. People across BC are feeling real pressure, the cost of rent, trying to buy a first home, or simply finding a place that works for their family and loved ones. Housing is one of the biggest sources of stress for people trying to stay in their community, for seniors looking for stability, or families wondering if home ownership is within reach. Our job is to stay focused on what matters most, building more homes faster and more affordably, removing barriers and supporting communities as they grow, because housing and infrastructure go hand in hand. We can't build homes without water systems and roads and good transit, and we can't do it if costs are too high to keep projects moving. That's why this work matters, and why Canada and BC are making billions in investments to continue to see projects move forward, turning empty lots into homes, and making sure people can see and feel real progress in their communities and in their lives. Since 2017, we as a government have made a historic $19 billion investment in homes for people. We now have more than 99,000 homes delivered or underway in communities all across British Columbia. Asking rents are now consistently going down faster here than anywhere else in Canada, saving British Columbians thousands of dollars every year. Vacancy rates are going up, offering more choice for renters and the ability, in many cases, to negotiate their cost of rent. And rental construction has tripled in 2025 compared to what it was 10 years earlier. By working together across governments, we're taking practical steps to build more homes in strong and vibrant communities. Thank you, and I'll invite Prime Minister Carney back up to answer media questions. Or whoever.
Exactly.
Yes,
Just to be
great.
clear,
The group project.
you're welcome to ask anyone. And if you're standing up here, you can get a question and you can answer. So
We'll turn
we all.
by yourself and your outlet and who the question is for. Première question,
morning.
first question.
Graham Wood from Business in Vancouver. Generally, higher property taxes will result in lower land values. So what you guys are doing is you're lowering taxation on property through DCC's elimination, and you're drawing this money from income tax revenue. And so have you considered that aspect?
What we've considered is that the, and we see this. I'll speak from a federal government perspective. We look across the country. There's certain provinces, BC and Ontario particularly, where development charges have reached a level where they were pricing out ordinary people, I can put it that way, the average home purchaser, and certainly in affordability. And there are advantages, there are synergies in some of the programs that we can have, both at the federal and provincial level, to help provide that infrastructure, because after all, the development charges for the infrastructure gets capitalized up front, since we're talking about tax, gets capitalized up front, hits and gets passed on through to the buyer of the home, as opposed to what the federal government can do, the provincial government to do, particularly working together, which is to smooth that over time, build world-class infrastructure, community infrastructure, make the homes more affordable, get more people into those homes. And I'll just underscore one last thing, which is that by doing this for 3 years, it's the construction over that period of time where the savings will take place. Remember, we're providing infrastructure funding over 10 years, so the infrastructure gets built. And it's a chance to prove this model at scale, more affordable housing, better communities, and we'll see as we move forward as governments about extending it. But thank you.
Great, thank you. And
follow up?
do I go follow up?
I guess you do, yes.
Follow up?
Sorry.
These are two-bedroom homes up here. They're about $1.1, $1.2 million still. Rents have gone down 6%, but it's completely still out of whack. Do you want to see home prices fall even further, especially in the Metro Vancouver region?
What we want is to establish, and I'll speak from a federal perspective, Metro Vancouver, Lower Mainland, across British Columbia, across Canada, is to build more and make available more affordable housing that works relative to what people's incomes are. And that means supply. It means more supply, obviously. It means part of that supply coming in innovative ways. I'm turning towards Minister Robertson because we're just in the early days. Literally, the legislation has gone through the Senate moments ago of establishing Build Canada Homes, which is a factory-built. It's a way to build much more effectively, more Canadian, lower emissions, lower costs, and build out and providing that strata of more affordable housing across. So that's a supply point. But it's also about removing, as we just talked about, some of those charges so that more people can get into the homes. And I'll just underscore, you heard it, but I know you understand it, is looking out at condos. You're not pointing at that's unoccupied, but condos that have been built, that are unoccupied, that are going to sit there potentially for another couple of years. We're going to go use the right financing mechanisms, convert those into affordable housing so people can move in and use that. Thanks.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Aaron MacArthur, Global News. You're talking about demand side incentives with reducing DCCs. Is there more to say on supply side incentives, such as reducing the GST as we've seen in Ontario?
Well, actually, interesting. I mean, you could have asked that, you could have swapped either of those. You could have said GST for demand side, because GST obviously is a direct lowering of the actual cost. And as you know, I'm sure the federal government has removed the GST for first-time home buyers to help younger Canadians, younger families get on the housing ladder. Look, I think there's a series of measures. We're very focused as a federal government in terms of overall mechanisms to increase the supply of houses, units within livable communities. So this comes together. I just gave the answer. I apologize. I just met a fly in my eye, but let's see if I can get it out without. Using our the power of working together to spread out those development charges, that is going to help both supply and demand, because it means that if I'm a developer and I'm looking at an opportunity, the all-in price that I'm pay the development charge, then I decide how much of that I can pass on, has gone down, and so that helps unblock some of the development there. So the short answer is, it's too late for a short answer, but it is both sides. Both sides of those are connected. I would view the development charge as more of a supply side mechanism than demand side, particularly because, as Minister Boyle underscored and the Premier did, it's combined. If you want to step up and answer more, it's combined with that infrastructure build, which of course is, you're building communities, so it's supply side. But Premier,
thanks. Thanks, Prime Minister. Just on the difference between our initiative with the federal government and Ontario's, the Prime Minister is absolutely right. The Prime Minister is absolutely right. The federal government has eliminated GST already for first-time home buyers here in British Columbia. We've eliminated the property transfer tax for first-time home buyers on properties in British Columbia, and we don't have PST on those homes. So if you're a first-time home buyer, you're already getting the Ontario program here in British Columbia. So when we engaged with the federal government, it was like, do we want to extend that tax relief to people who have already bought into the property market, who might be buying their second or third home? And the answer was no. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing people who are trying to get into the market. And that has led to the innovative conversations with Minister Robertson and his team, supported by the Prime Minister, about how we can work with the private sector in this underused stock inventory of condos to facilitate more people being able to get into the housing market, and that's what I'm really excited about. It is a very different program than Ontario's, but we're also in a different environment here.
I'll just reinforce that last point, which is housing is not a commodity. There are different structures in different markets, and markets in different places of their evolution, and that's why when in designing, you work with the province, and the province works locally, and that's why you see all the individuals up here, because they're representing that.
As a follow-up, I'd like to hear more about converting empty condos into homes for people. Does that involve the government buying extra stock from developers and then renting those out, or reselling them? Are there details you can give us on that?
You have two things. I mean, there's different models, and we'll work through the modalities and bring it out in the fall, is what I said in French. But you can do both, and my view, experts will design it, but one would look to do both. Effectively, though, what you're doing is buying them at a price, spreading out the financing, because you can do that, the financing of the underlying condo at our financing rate, but targeting at a level that is affordable. So, and it is a way to clear off on the books of this overhang. Yeah.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Rob Buffum. I work at CTV, and my question is for the Prime Minister. It's on behalf of a colleague, and it relates to CUSMA. President Trump, as you'll know, has made a range of comments on how he feels about CUSMA, including yesterday talking about his preference for it terminating immediately. I guess they want to know, you've obviously been in frequent conversation with the president. What are your thoughts as to whether he actually wants to see it extended for 16 years, keep it for 10, or get rid of it right away?
Well,
I'd welcome a prediction on today's game.
Prediction on today's game. Well, okay, let me start with the easy one. First off, I think today's game, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great match because the Qataris they're a good side. We saw it against Switzerland. It wasn't just the late goal, but the way they were organized, and they're tough at the back. Canada's, it's an exciting team. It's an attacking team. Alphonso Davies is going to be back, suited up. He's on the bench. We're recovering from our injury, so we've got a lot of options. We're great at the back. We've got a great keeper. So I think it's going to be great. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable in BC Place. The atmosphere around here, atmosphere everywhere is unbelievable. You can feel it in the city. So it's going to be a great game, and I can't remember what the first part of your question was about.
Does Trump want to get rid of it right away?
I know. No, look, I think, as you say, I had a number of conversations with the president in parallel in the last few days at the G7 on a range of issues, including some of the commercial aspects. But there were very detailed, a series of technical conversations. That slightly diminishes them, I just call it that way, but Minister LeBlanc, who's responsible for this, our chief negotiator, Ambassador Greer, who is the U.S. Trade Representative, we continue to work through a number of issues which are all related. And what I'll refer to is, let me take Ambassador Greer's testimony to Congress on a variety of occasions. In effect, the underlying structure of CUSMA has been preserved. It continues to operate for 85% of our exports. Without any action, it will remain in place for the next decade. There's an opportunity to extend it. There's always been the opportunity for any of the parties to cancel it with 6 months' notice. It's no secret the president in recent years has not been the biggest fan of CUSMA or other trade deals, but there are specific things that we can work together on, and including, I'll just put on the table, since we're in British Columbia and we're talking housing, on forest products, which we continue to press with the Americans. Thank you.
My follow-up's for Premier Eby. Premier Eby, there was a poll out yesterday you'll be aware of from Angus Reid that showed your party trailing the Conservatives by 11%, and people are dissatisfied with things ranging from affordability to housing to health care. The latest cost estimate for FIFA ranges up to $729 million. How important for you is it that this thing goes off successfully? How much is invested in terms of your government with people catching FIFA fever, and probably fueled by a win today from Canada?
Well, the priorities for British Columbians are what we're talking about here today. It's affordable housing, it's affordability generally, it's strong public services, healthcare, transit, and it's jobs and opportunity. It's what we're working with the federal government on all the time. I sure hope Canada wins. But in terms of the election 2 years from now, what are people going to be looking at? It's like, do I see an opportunity for myself to get into the housing market as a young person? Do I see a future for myself in the province? Do I have opportunities for high-paid jobs to deal with affordability issues? Has the government been working where they can to drive down hydro rates, car insurance rates? And what are the proposals of the other party? The key for any poll, especially right now, is that a very large number of people are undecided. They are looking for governments to deliver on their priorities. That's what our government will be focused on for the next 2 years. And then the ultimate poll will take place, which is the election. And the Prime Minister himself will tell you that the certainty of the media and pollsters in the lead up to an election is not necessarily a predictor of the outcome of any election.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Michelle Gassoub, CBC. 2 questions for the Prime Minister from colleagues in Ottawa. Was a foreign entity involved in a criminal for hire network that is behind shootings at Toronto synagogues and the U.S. consulate?
I won't comment on specific investigations underway.
Follow-up.
And you recently said the American and Israeli military action against Iran was worth it. Do you believe that military action was necessary to get the deal that the U.S. and Iran now have?
I think, as I said in recent days, that I welcome the deal that President Trump has negotiated, and I want to particularly today acknowledge the leading role that His Highness the Emir and his Prime Minister Al-Thani, played in helping to bring this conflict to an end, or create the possibility with this agreement to an end. And we had extensive discussions about the agreement with the Emir, with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed of the United Arab Emirates, with President al-Sisi, with other players in the region and beyond. And what's important now is to make this work, because what it does is it creates more than a framework, but it creates a foundation to achieve peace. And what's necessary for that peace is a few items that I'm just going to underscore. The first is why this all started, which is ensuring that Iran does not acquire a nuclear weapon. That is at the heart of this agreement. It's all anchored in and around that. There is a exceptionally broad coalition of countries now that are dedicated to that in the region, beyond the region, and Canada fully supports that. We supported that objective from the start. Secondly, that the broader aspects of this conflict, particularly in Lebanon, are addressed. It is part of the agreement. Thirdly, that the financial elements and other elements of the agreement, they're not. There's no automaticity to them. It's actually progress with respect to the Strait and with respect to denuclearization. And fourthly, and this is crucial, and I want to underscore this, you will see it in the joint statement of G7 leaders that came out in the last 24 hours, that we take the broader opportunities that are created by this agreement. Let me be very specific. You saw G7 come together and reinforce the intention for Canada did on the day, but also the intent of further sanctions on Russia to end the senseless slaughter in Ukraine. The resolve there has been redoubled and broadened, including the economic sanctions there, because, in part for some, because of the stabilization in oil markets and others, and also the broader efforts for broader peace in the Middle East, very much including Gaza and the West Bank. Thank you.
Next question.
Kurt Blank, City News. Also a question for the Prime Minister. I'm glad you brought up the G7 leaders there were quite favorable about the role that Canada could play in providing energy supplies to the global market. Some analysts, though, have been kind of skeptical on whether just one new pipeline to the West Coast, an oil pipeline, would be enough to keep up with demand. Is your government hoping to build more pipelines than the one that's being discussed with Alberta?
So thank you for raising that question, because it was significant. And let me give the quick context and answer your question directly. The first is that you always need to apply the lessons of a crisis, certainly a war, a conflict. One of the lessons of this conflict might have been obvious to some going into it, but it's certainly obvious to everyone now, of the extreme risk created by the concentration and the risks of the Strait of Hormuz. There's a need to diversify energy infrastructure in that region itself. I won't go into all the details, but there was discussions of multiple pipelines and new energy infrastructure in that region, so that the export in future would not be 100% dependent on the Strait of Hormuz, and very serious part. And within that context, the G7 and the broader partnership recognize the very considerable contribution that Canada and British Columbia is and will make to energy diversification. Why do I say that? Yes, there's discussion, as you know, of a coastal pipeline. and expansion of TMX, two important contributors, but LNG too, silicims, wood fiber. I mean, these extraordinary projects that only Canada, and I would say only Canada and British Columbia can do, which are Indigenous partnerships, low carbon LNG trains. So in other words, the actual liquefaction in that process is best in class, top quartile, top decile, in some cases ultimately net zero. And that's supplying energy to Asia. But as we've seen in the last few weeks with the German deals, Uniper beyond the 3 megatons that have been signed for silicim, also to Europe. So there's an acknowledgement of all of that diversification. Last point. There's also acknowledgement, not in that sentence, but in the discussions, that we have an opportunity to double our clean grid in this country. Clean power grid, of course, I'm in British Columbia where hydros plays such a crucial role, but we have other assets across the country. And in doing so, we can be a clean power supplier, first and foremost for Canadians in an affordable way, but also for manufacturing, for artificial intelligence, if that's appropriate. That's what we want to do. And that is a huge contribution to the world going forward. So yes, we have that opportunity, and I'm pleased that we're working together on the clean power side. Think of the Northwest Conservation Corridor, the NCTL transmission line is one example there. We're working in a way that for conventional energy is lowest carbon as well. So thank you.
And we'll have time for one last question. Dernière question.
Hi there, Thomas Steele from Bloomberg. A question for, I think, Prime Minister and the Premier. You mentioned forestry, and I think at this point there's at least $8 billion sitting in trust, collected in duties. I think it's well over that at this point.
Yeah.
Is Canada's position that all of that should be returned, or is there a haggling going on at this point about the US getting some or all of that to get to a settlement?
Canada's, well, first off, the money is not Canada's. Obviously, the money is the money of the companies pursuing rightfully litigation associated. Our core position is that it is in both the interests of the United States and Canada, and not to mention being consistent with our trade agreements, for a return to freer trade in forest products. We're here. We're talking about housing. We're talking about affordability. We're part of the solution for affordability in the United States as we are here in Canada. There are aspects of a negotiation and flexibilities that exist, but we have to start with a core objective of moving towards that greater access. Let me add one other thing, and I'll let the Premier finish, which is we have worked. And at the Premier's urging, and rightly so, but we've worked very closely on a forest product strategy for transformation of the industry alongside that negotiation. So it's not instead of, but it's alongside. We've most recently had a meeting, I think it was 10 days ago, or maybe it was just a week ago, here to take the next steps on that. We're providing billions of dollars, but we also need to look at how the industry is structured, all elements of the value chain, so that we're getting the most opportunity for our forest products workers, for our industry as a whole. Part of that answer is with Build Canada Homes and others, but it's a much broader elements of that. There is a clear resolve in order to achieve that alongside the negotiations with the Americans. But Premier, I'll give you the last word.
Thanks, Prime Minister. We have been working closely with the federal government on this crucial issue for British Columbians. It's hard to describe to overstate the importance of the forest sector to British Columbia and to Canada's economy. Bigger than steel and auto parts combined nationally, and certainly a major driver in BC, which is why I'm glad to see the Prime Minister and his team giving attention to this key issue. Most recently, a federal technical advisory group to assist us in working together, both to support the sector through this difficult time with the United States, but also to find ways to export more products to jurisdictions other than the United States. Our key point over and over with the ambassador, with the consul general, when we were in the United States, is that there is $8 billion in a bank account that would be a huge benefit to the sector across North America, allowing modernization, allowing value add, creating jobs and opportunity, and to see the Americans increasing their imports of lumber from Russia instead of from British Columbia and Canada doesn't make any sense to us at all. I think there is a win here for everybody on the forest industry across North America, and I am very hopeful that the President and his trade team respond to the engagements of Canada at the national level to sit down and talk about this, because there is a win-win here for everybody, and a deprivation of a source of revenue for a dictator who is currently attacking Ukraine and waging war in Europe. Unacceptable. Let's move forward together.
Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Prime Minister. This puts an end to our... En français.
OK. Oui, très rapidement. Je sais que vous
Dernière question, rapidement.
OK. Ouais, merci beaucoup.
OK.
En fin de session parlementaire, votre gouvernement a fait avancer au moins 9 projets de loi en utilisant des bâillons, des limites de temps sur les débats. Est-ce qu'il y a toujours une place pour le débat démocratique aux communes maintenant que vous êtes majoritaire, et si oui, laquelle?
Oui, il y a plusieurs débats. Le Parlement, comme le nom, est plein de débats. Il y a des débats, il y a des débats, et après un certain temps, il y a des mécanismes de délai afin de frustrer des lois importantes. En parlant, par exemple, des lois qui concernent la sécurité des gens près d'ici, liberté sous caution, les pénuries pour la violence des gangs, les violences avec les armes de feu, la haine. Et ils sont tous les projets de loi du gouvernement. Et pour chaque loi, le Parti conservateur dit non. Essayez de frustrer toutes les grandes mesures afin de protéger des citoyens et concitoyens ici, surtout ici. OK? Les lois contre l'extorsion. Et après un certain temps, c'est le temps de voter. Et le Parti libéral votait pour la protection des citoyens et des concitoyens. Et les partis conservateurs votaient chaque fois contre. Ça, c'est la ligne finale. Hein.
Merci.
Et merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. This was the end of our press conference. This is my final conference.